Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Candice, and today we're going to be just talking a little bit about my Christian views on modesty, and we're going to look at what the Bible actually has to say about clothes and what we're wearing, and we're just going to kind of chat. Just a disclaimer, there's no judgment in this video. I am not trying to shame anyone or say anything bad against anyone. I'm just expressing my view, and whatever the Bible says, I will tell you that. But other than that, there's no shame, no judgment. To each their own, okay guys? It's just a personal view that we're going to be talking about. So first I'm going to go ahead and pray for this video, and then we'll get into the scriptures and talk about it, okay? God, thank you for the privilege of being able to do another video for you. I ask that you would open the eyes and the ears and the hearts and the minds of anyone who's under my voice right now. And this isn't the biggest issue in the world, God, but I know it is an issue that you do take us through at some point in our journey and our walk with you. So I ask that you give me the words to speak, just to convey your view and just have a real chat with people about this, Papa. I ask that this video goes smoothly. You bring back to my remembrance everything you told me before that I need to be speaking about, and that you would show love to whoever's on the other side of this video right now. I ask in Jesus Christ's name. Alright guys, so modesty in the Christian culture has a wide span of views, but we're just going to go kind of straight to the Bible to see what it says about it, because that's where I get my information, so that's where we're going. Now, if you actually look through the Bible, it doesn't say a ton of things about clothes. It talks about specific garments that priests would wear back in the Old Testament. Talks about how, you're clothed in white as a metaphor, both and literally at the end of times. Talks about what Jesus wears at the end of times. There's a verse in there talking about that you shouldn't be mixing fabrics when you're wearing clothes. There's not a ton on it, but the two verses that do get pulled up a lot, because they're the very few verses that really apply to it. The first one I'm going to pull up is 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 9 and 10. I've got it bookmarked already. Let's see. Okay, and I have the bookmark on the wrong page. Look at that. Alright, where are we at? So, in this chapter, what is this? I think this is Paul speaking. I'm not 100% certain on that. My Bible doesn't exactly tell me. It's one of the apostles, specifically writing to Timothy. So, he starts by talking, he's basically talking about, things that he's exhorting people to do. He talks about in the second verse for kings and people in authority that you lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. So he's just kind of giving, what people should do. We get to verse number 9. This is where it says, in like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with braided hair or gold or pearls or costly array, but which becometh women professing godliness with good works. And what it's talking about here, it's not an admonition against, oh, you can't wear jewelry, you can't, look good or anything like that. But what he's saying is that your outer shell should match what's on the inside, okay? So you should be focusing more on your character, more on your good, the works that you do to help other people, being godly, and not just, completely focus on the outside and have that be your only thing, make sure hair is done, makeup's done, nails are done, everything like that. That shouldn't just be our focus, is basically what he's saying here. Basically making it more about the heart, and that's what modesty really is. Modesty is a heart issue. And there's no hard and fast rules about what modesty looks like or what it doesn't, what you should be wearing versus what you shouldn't necessarily. It's something that you develop in your relationship with God. So for me, when there were things that I wore when I was a teenager that they weren't, like risque necessarily, but they're things that I wouldn't necessarily wear now that I'm further along in my relationship with God, because I just don't see them as appropriate anymore. Like, there are things that I don't want to show the world anymore because I want those to be private, like just things that are for me or for a future husband, like, and not for anybody else. So it's a heart issue, guys. The one and only other verse really that like specifically talks about like what you're wearing is Deuteronomy chapter 22 verse 5. And this is one that I'm gonna get hate for, guys, but it's what God said, not me, okay? Don't go blaming the messenger. Alright, chapter 22 verse 5. This is the one spot where it's like, okay, this is, the guideline. Alright, it says, "The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy God." So if you actually go back to Genesis, I know that sounds harsh, okay, abomination, but if you go back to Genesis and you read through it, God made Adam and he made Eve, and he made them in his likeness and in his image, and he expresses his image through the masculine side, but also through the feminine side. And he gave us different chromosomes, guys, XX or XY, that, and obvious physical differences that mark us as different from each other. And he wants it to be able to be seen from other people who look at you to know whether you are his image in a feminine form or you are his image in a masculine form, okay? And so where this applies personally and stuff is, I personally would not go into the men's section of a store and buy something that is sold for a man, okay? Like, I would not go and buy a man's underwear and then wear it, or wear, like, there's different parts involved. It wouldn't fit. Like, I would not go and buy men's jeans as opposed to women's jeans. And side note, I just gave up on jeans altogether because it's very hard to find jeans that fit properly when you're a woman and you're like almost 6 feet tall, so jeans are just kind of out for me in general. But I digress. I would not go and buy a man's shirt and then wear it, and I would not expect a man to go into the women's section and buy bras and panties and things like that and wear them. That's just where that comes into play. But for me personally, I wasn't really convicted about modesty in, like, when I first started my journey with God, because he was working on, way bigger issues, like getting me to trust him and, like just developing a relationship with him that was really strengthened and personal and stuff like that. So the whole modesty thing is like a total side issue that didn't even like come into being until later. And it was just kind of a small thing over the years. Like, as I grow closer in my relationship with God, I don't want to be like exposing so much of myself, because it says in the Bible that our bodies are the temple of God, and like if God abides in you, then he's in you with the Holy Spirit. And for me, it just feels really weird to like expose bits of my body that are not appropriate to really expose. So I figured I would break this down into categories of clothing just to kind of give you my personal opinions on things. Again, no judgment, and this is not like rules for anybody. This is just my personal opinion on things, okay? Keep that in mind. Alright, so we're gonna start with bottoms, so anything from the waist down, okay? For me personally, like I said, I gave up on pants. Not out of a modesty issue, just because I don't like them. They're uncomfortable. Every time I bent over, you see a plumber's crack. Like, they're very uncomfortable. I like skirts and dresses much better because they're just easier to wear and way more comfortable. So I got rid of the pants, so that's not even an issue for me. I do, however, own a pair of sweatpants. They're like exceptionally large sweatpants that I had to buy large so they would actually be long enough. And those are like, if I'm really sick or feeling really down or something like that, I might break out the sweatpants and wear them not out in public, but I will wear them at home or just doing chores or something. For me, one of the biggest things with bottoms and tops and just all the stuff in general is God made me as a woman. So he made me to express femininity. And so when I'm thinking about clothing, I want to be able to have someone who's all the way across the room, or like all the way across, like 100, 200 feet down on the grocery store aisle, to be able to tell from that far away looking at me that I'm a woman. Like, I don't want to be androgynous. I don't want to like look like from behind that I'm not a woman. Like, I want to clearly express who I am to other people. So for me, with bottoms, that includes wearing a skirt, because I like skirts, okay? The floofier the skirt on the bottom, the better. And you can't tell me that you don't like being able to twirl around and have the skirt do its like cool floofy thing like in all those old movies. Like, it's incredibly satisfying, guys, and if you have not done it, you should try. But seriously, if somebody could come up with like really floofy skirts that had legitimate pockets in them, I would probably buy one in every color. I like skirts. Now, in the summertime, I occasionally do wear shorts. Yes, I do try to, however, have shorts that are kind of longer, because, again, I am almost 6 feet tall, and half of that is leg. So if I wear, like regular shorts that, they're selling at the stores these days, they look like underwear. And I am not comfortable exposing that much of my legs and backside to people, so I wear longer shorts. Personally, to each your own. I'm like, as long as the important bits are covered up, no judgment. But for me, I wear shorts that, they're not exactly like Bermuda shorts necessarily. Those are the ones that like go down to your knee, right? But I do try, they're probably Bermuda shorts on somebody who's shorter than me, but for me, they look like regular shorts. Just because, again, I have more legs, so things always look shorter on me than they do on your average height woman. Okay. Okay, that's our bottoms. Alright, we're gonna move on to tops. My biggest thing with tops is that I don't want them riding up in the back when I bend over, and which again is hard when you're tall, trying to find long tops. It's a thing. And I also don't want, my chest hanging out, personally. I don't care if I expose, my arms. An arm is not a sexual object, it's just an arm. But as long as, the important bits are covered and it's long enough, then I'll wear just about any top. Okay? It's easy peasy. It's not like some rocket science or something. Just as long as the important bits are covered. We're going to move into undergarments. Undergarments are meant to be under our clothes. They are not meant to be seen. I mean, we kind of assume that everybody's wearing undergarments, but I don't want to be able to tell if you're not. I don't even want to be able to tell if you are. Like, there are some undergarments that when one wears them and then also wears like tight pants or something like that, it then looks like your bottom is eating your pants. I avoid those. If you are going to wear skimpy underwear, I would recommend at least wearing a few layers, so, I don't know you're wearing skimpy underwear. Or for those who like to go commando, like I said, at least it shouldn't be to the point where people can tell that that's going on, because it's under your clothes. Okay? In what kind of goes along with modesty, in a way, I guess, this whole thing with like push-up bras, it's kind of, in my personal view, okay, push-up bras, where they're like hiking things up way, way higher and making them look way, way bigger than they actually are. I don't think it's super modest, personally, for myself. I'm like, I just find it to be somewhat false advertising, if you will. Not that I'm necessarily trying to get people's attention, but it just, I don't know. I find it problematic, but that's just me. Okay, Mr. Bug. Shoot. Thank you. Again, not judging you on your underwear choices, but for me, modest is just like a regular bra, not just, putting them up on display, if you will. But that's the thing, like, modesty, again, like I said, it's a heart issue, it's a personal thing. Like, what looks modest for me is probably going to be different than what looks modest for you, or what you feel the best in, what you feel modest in is going to be different than what I feel modest in. So, like, for me, if I'm wearing skirts, I like to have them at least to my knees, just in case, there's a random breeze that goes whoosh. But that's just me. Again, everybody is different in this, but it goes back to just your heart posture with God, how you're relating to Him, like, and what you want shown of your body. So it's a heart issue. So, like, as our motivation to get someone's attention when we're dressing a certain way, like, I've had to evaluate this going through my own closet. I've had to be like, okay, this dress, what is my motivation for wearing it? Am I wearing it because it, like, shows off the backside and I want to, get some male attention? Or do I like wearing it just because I feel good in it? Like, discussing that with God and just realizing what your motivation is with whatever you're wearing, really. And taking it back to God and just talking to Him about it. It's what we put on our bodies. It's not the biggest issue in the world. It's not like some gigantic make or break at salvation sort of issue. It's just a thing. And I just wanted to share my personal opinion on it. And, a few of the things that I feel about it. That's all. Yeah. I think that's about it. Oh, I didn't talk about shoes. Shoes. I don't know that there's necessarily a modest thing with shoes, considering shoes are just covering your feet, and feet are just made for walking. But personally, since I am almost 6 feet tall, I try not to wear, like, exceptionally obnoxious heels, because then I feel like a giant. But other than that, I would say, nothing that makes you look like you're... I personally would not wear anything that would make me look like I'm, gonna go stand on a street corner somewhere. I go for the more classier things, and I find that when you're modest, and I'm not talking about, like, looking like a nun or wearing a muumuu or, just covering everything like Charlie Brown in his white bedsheet, you don't have to do that to be modest, okay, guys? But when I dress, slightly more modestly, I find that I feel classier. I look more elegant. I look more put together simply because you're wearing more fabric. Weird how that works. Like, if you look at, like, all the pictures of, like, royal families and stuff like that, the women tend to wear skirts that are longer, that kind of floof out a bit. They flare. They still have, the feminine shape. And they're covering all the important bits. But they just have a little bit more fabric, and it just looks classier, I guess, which is kind of cool too, because it makes you look a little bit more fashionable. Alright, I think that's about all the things I can think of to say on modesty. I hope this has blessed you in some way, my ranting, but I'll see you guys next time. Bye.